Welcome to the Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap Fight to Win 199, recap the Hudson Valley Invitational, and Grapple in the Temple, as well as talk about really a ton of news that happened this week. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, to my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, you gave me a look like, and this, and
No.
I didn't realize.
No, we just have a lot of stuff.
We
to
have a ton of. You texted me earlier today, and we have just like more news than we have had in
random,
forever.
and it's a bunch of random news. It's not a lot of it's not related. It's just
not connected.
No, it's like random stuff here and there.
So yeah, let's get into it. Where do you want to start with news? We actually have a blank week, not a blank week. We have a off week next week for the show. So if you have like a topic suggestion or something like that, that relates to specifically professional jiu-jitsu or like a matchup talk up.
There might be a fight to win.
Oh, it's on the list. Fight to Win 200 is next weekend.
Do we know where it is?
We don't, because it's actually not. It's not on the flow schedule.
Okay.
And so I just realized that now.
Yeah, I just thought about it too, because when I redid the schedule, I went between that and a couple other places.
Yeah, because Fight to Win 201 is on the FloGrappling schedule for the 30th, when we have BJJ Stars, and we have something else happening that week.
What's it called? Toro
Cup. Yeah, Toro Cup's finally on Flow as well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, because that was previously a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So that's actually, let's start off with that news. There's a bunch of new events. It seems like Flow goes through sort of periods, FloGrappling, for like getting new events onto their service.
Yeah.
Certain ones it works out, certain ones it doesn't work out, but Finishers is finally coming to Flow. Finishers is a kind of a local East Coast event. It's really was sort of holding the torch for EBI when EBI was away, and it was sort of, before Emerald City came along, one of, if not the premier EBI-style tournament run by Zach Meslani and J.M. Holland up at 10th Planet Bethlehem. We saw some great guys come through that tournament and continue to come through that tournament.
A lot of the New York guys came through that tournament.
Yeah.
If you think about it, Gordon Ryan came through that tournament.
Yeah.
Like a long time ago.
Like he was the first, I think, 170 champion for finishers, like finishers 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, been around a long time, and they're finally coming to Flow with their Survivor Series, which is their quintet style event, and their last one was a ton of fun. It was one of the most fun events we've covered for them. I went up to their event a couple of years ago when Nicky Rod was on it as just a super fight, and hopefully I'm probably going to go back up to this one, because they run really fun events, and it's cool to see them finally on Flow. Again, unfortunately, they're not going to be on YouTube anymore as a result, and they've always been like a really great staple on that platform, but it is cool to see them getting essentially a broadcast deal, because they produce a great product with great commentary and, always fun matches.
And Midwest Finishers is their kind of
Chicago, Midwest area.
I think it's Ohio, actually.
Is it Ohio? No,
I want to say it's Ohio.
I think it's...
I could be wrong with that.
I know all the Chicago guys get on there.
I know one of the guys who was on Finishers, I thought ran Midwest Finishers, and they were in Ohio.
Omar runs Midwest
then
Finishers.
I'm wrong with that.
And they also got announced for Flow this week. I think their tournament is for it's like end of May or something like that, or June or August.
I'm not as
it's a little further
away.
And also Toro Cup also is on Flow now,
which is a North Carolina.
Yeah, and we talked about them for a couple of weeks ago with Gabriel Souza versus DeAndre Corbray.
Yeah,
and that was a fire match.
And now it's going to be Corbray's brother,
Gavin Corbray, who we've done commentary for Copa Virginia,
and he's going against Estevan Martinez.
Yes, and we're going to talk about Estevan Martinez a little bit today, because he was the main event for Hudson Valley Invitational. So,
and actually, I got offered a match for Toro, and I turned it down.
big in Cora. So, yeah, so a bunch of stuff.
It's a fun event.
Yeah, we've covered Toro for years. I think we started covering Toro at like Toro 4 or 6. Yeah. Like back in like 2018 or something like that, or probably even 2017, because Josh had been on Toro before, and it was one of the first independent organizations that we really made efforts to cover. So it's really cool to see them again on a bigger platform on Flow. These events all produce some great talent, and it's cool to see them being showcased on Flow. Other than that, we also have Who's Next, which is that reality show that Flow's doing coming. I think that's in May. I talked to Mike from FloGrappling really, really briefly at ADCC Trials, and I think he said May. It was a very busy weekend, but every preview that comes out for that, it looks like essentially the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Jiu-Jitsu.
For grappling.
And I'm kind of going, that would be hype. If it's like the old school Ultimate Fighter, like 2 teams, I am amped for that.
I think you have to fight your way in, too. I think they start out with a big group and you have to fight your way into the house.
Really? Because everyone I've seen who's on it is like a legit dude, and I'm
yeah,
excited.
I thought I heard that they said that you have to actually fight your way in. So
like guys like Varela,
like day one, day one they're gonna whittle them down.
Oh, really? Because day one I think is the no time limit sub only, like Quintet and Shugio style.
The freaking no time limit.
It'll be crazy. I mean,
at least because
it's
a TV show, at least then we cannot be stuck with a 45-minute match.
They can cut it down like Shugio, exactly like Shugio did.
Exactly. Yeah. And my only issue with no time limit, I don't really is. It can get boring.
It's not very viewer friendly.
Well, no, and when you get two people that have a game that they want to impose, and
which in a no time limit match you absolutely should be doing.
Yeah, and either they're not getting what they want, and so they don't change, or there's no change. It just becomes boring as hell.
So go watch Keenan versus Gordon Ryan. I watched that live. I watched the entire thing at the 89-minute mark.
Which was it? Was it Andrew Tackett or was it William Tackett that had the sug? No, it wasn't sug. It was Third Coast Grappling.
It was Andrew,
and it was like
and they had to change the rules.
Fucking hour-long match.
They had to change the rules.
I mean, but it was a good freaking match.
Yeah.
I mean,
versus Damian Anderson.
It was just the mat was so tiny. They just kept on pushing each other off, but it was so long.
So who's next is coming? We have ADCC trials for
Europe.
Is it? No, it's not Europe.
No.
I think it's Africa and
European.
Oh, and Africa. Yeah, second African trials. Europe and Africa on May 7th.
Middle Eastern and Africa.
So that'll be fun. That's coming up. I'm not going to go to that one because I looked at flights and they're doable.
Did you really look
at
see
flights?
They
were like $600, but it was going to be
where?
To Poland, because it's in Poland. And
I could go see my people.
I looked up flights and I was like, dude, that's a lot.
I would eat so many pierogi.
It's also a 24-hour flight.
I would eat so many.
One way, and I went, I cannot do that to myself. I will happily watch the broadcast on FloZone, and it will be great.
I need pierogi if I do that.
So let's see what other news we have as far as like events coming on. I think that's the only event we have. Let's talk about 1FC news, because 1FC is very quickly becoming like a really interesting grappling showcase.
Yeah, they have I want to say it was this year that they invited everybody that they've been signing, or they've been signing people recently.
It's been a couple of years they've been doing, like Gary Tonin and Aoki had one, but recently, they signed Gordon Ryan, and then they really have kind of signed really, really high-level grappling talent like Galvao and like the Rotolos and Musamechi.
But still allowing them to compete otherwise.
Yeah,
they're not just stuck.
How Gordon described the contract was basically that you can go do grappling matches wherever, but if you decide to ever fight MMA, it has to be with us. I think
so
is their
it's kind of like PFL. PFL has the same sort of thing.
Yeah, very similar.
Because with Kayla Harrison, they have that PFL had a deal with her that she had to fight for them.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's similar. Like, it gives them the opportunity to go and do this, like their primary sport, which is grappling. But if they do decide to debut in MMA, it is with 1FC, which for the guys that are signing, like I am amped because Kade and Tye are guys that are
young enough that they can
they're
transition.
Also looking. We've seen them with gloves on. We've seen them sparring. We've seen them sparring at Atos, like in actual, not like playing like real MMA rounds.
No, and we've seen them beat the living shit out of one another.
We have many a time. So let's talk about one, and let's talk about that. Kind of leads into something we'll talk about in a minute here. Okay. But 1FC. So we have a match happening next weekend actually, which will be the only thing we cover as far as like a match. We have Mikey Musumeci versus Masakazu Iminari.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. We'll actually talk about that probably in the preview section.
It's a very interesting match to say the least.
It's a rough one for Iminari. I think at the end of the show it's when we do our previews.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that at the end of the show and kind of how we think the dynamics are going to go.
Mikey's moved to Singapore.
Yeah, that was another news this week. You watched a live stream that Mikey did.
No, Mikey had it was a question and answer on Instagram.
Was it a live one?
No.
Oh,
people were just messaging, and then people were messaging back, and people were asking him, and he basically said, "Yeah, I moved to Singapore." And I was like, "Wow, you moved to Singapore? Didn't realize you would do that." But I mean,
he's moved around a lot over the course of them. He's been a lot of different teams, been a lot of different places, and you talked about. I think he said he liked it was either that or Vegas.
Yeah, because he's from Vegas.
Is he really?
Yeah, I don't know if he's from it, but that's where he's been at for the last couple of years. Like he left to go train with Kaio, and then he went back to Vegas, and like his, like the garage,
Boots garage,
yeah, boop, not boots. Boop's garage is in Vegas.
Oh, no shit. I don't know how I never realized that.
Yeah. So he likes Vegas and he likes Singapore, which Singapore looks fun except when they cane you.
There's Singapore's an interesting place.
Yeah, don't spit out your gum.
Don't spit out your gum in Singapore or have any drugs whatsoever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Also in ONE FC news, Boucher versus Rengrug. I'm messing up his name, but has been pushed again. This is actually Boucher's debut opponent.
Yeah.
Back when he was first going to debut, he then went against. I think we looked him up. He was a Finnish guy or wasn't
he a kickboxer?
Yeah, he's a Scandinavian kickboxer. That he submitted.
Oh, what is a hockey player? Remember?
Yes, that guy. That guy. Big heavyweight, and so now his match that has been pushed again with Rengrug, who's a big Sanghalese wrestler.
Yeah.
Has been pushed. Do you know when is it? Do you know when it is now scheduled for or no?
No, I just saw I just saw where they said they moved it, but that was all I saw. Well, but I like watching some Buchecha.
I like watching Buchecha as well. Again, he's a guy that I'm curious to see. He's a guy that's transitioning over to MMA, and he's a heavyweight, so it's that is a real possibility. We'll see how far I can get. Guys like Verdum, and there's been plenty of heavyweight grapplers that have gone on to have extremely successful runs.
But we also haven't seen his chin yet. We haven't seen him get actually hit.
Right.
So that's going to be...
we watched Rodolfo have a rough run in the UFC so far. We've seen Yuri have a rough run in ONE FC so far. It is curious, and I'm curious to see how it goes. But that got pushed. In other MMA news, Cody Steele is out of his MMA fight this next week with some sort of injury. I didn't really look too much into it, but I saw that he was injured. Yeah. Hope that he heals up. Again, he's been just killing it in Jiu-Jitsu and in MMA. So I hope that he heals up. I hope it's a minor thing and it just delays him.
Yeah.
But there's that. Also in injury news, we have Amanda Levy. I think you told me.
Yeah, she broke her fibula.
In the Kendall Riesling match.
She said she has to have surgery.
Yeah, it looked given where she was kind of grabbing her leg and the nature of how she screamed when it
happened. Basically she said her fibula family gave up or something like that. I'm that sucks.
That's a pretty brutal injury, a leg break.
Because an ankle you can kind of get away with because it's a joint, so it's not horrible, But
a leg break
is
a leg. There's a lot to it. She has to have surgery. Again, wish her the best, but we now have more information about that injury from probably about a month ago. That was pre-ADCC.
Yeah.
So
it was because we were wondering if she would actually make ADCC.
Yeah, and so will not. So hopefully she heals up and we continue to see great things from her. She's really been on a tear. Hopefully this does not get in the way more than any other injury would. Yeah. Let's see what else we have. I realized I did this all out of order.
Yeah.
ADCC news. We have Raphael Canuto announced for under 77 kilograms. And Mo Jasmine talked about it a couple of weeks ago when he was talking about potential invites. Yeah. And Canuto was on the short list, and it was very, very kind of known that he was probably one
on
to
the live
the
stream
invite.
Today, he basically said that Keith was going to get an invite anyway.
Keith? I mean,
yeah, he was going to give Keith an invite no matter what.
You get 3
and I forget who else
silver medals.
Yeah.
Yeah, you deserve it, man. In the hardest trials in the world.
Forget the other ones that he said. There was a couple other ones.
He talked about it at length a couple, probably 2-3 weeks ago. He basically went through everyone he thought he has to get approved. He has to get the invites approved still. Yeah. But everyone that Mo thought should be in. And again, Mo has he is the guy. And so he has a pretty good finger on the pulse for who is deserving the ADCC criteria. He's probably not going to talk. He's not going to talk errantly about who he thinks is going to get in, if he's not pretty sure they're, on the short list to make it in.
But he discussed the Open that he plans to do in Vegas.
Yeah, that is going to be the Thursday before the World Championships. Yep. Registration opens up for that
next week.
Next week.
They didn't say a day.
Okay.
So, but it's going to be more divisions.
Yes.
So, which is fun.
And they've posted the divisions, and it's like a big open tournament.
Yeah.
Much more like a regular tournament. It has way more divisions than a trials.
Yeah.
But it is still kind of a pared down collection of divisions.
Yeah, it's going to be, and he said either 16 or 32 per division.
Yeah, I would assume it's going to be 32.
32 probably for the males.
Just because.
I bet you 16 for the women because they don't like us very much.
Or there's just fewer registrations as a whole.
There is. So we're going to try. I'm going to try to register.
I might register
too.
I register for
it's going to depend.
We're
going to have to see. We're going to see what time it is too, because we don't want to.
We have a concert that evening as well, so that's fun. That's announced. Also announced for ADCC this week was the $400 Hall of Fame seminar. When is that coming up?
Next
week. Registration for that happens next week?
Yeah, they said either Friday. He said Friday or Monday.
Yeah, it's a wild summer. It's expensive.
People kept on asking him to give dates, and he said he was playing Contra and could not give dates at this time.
Gotta love Mo.
Which is great.
It's a very expensive seminar, but it is also the only opportunity you're ever going to get to get a seminar with all of those people in a row.
That's a lot going on.
It is a lot going on.
It's a lot going on.
It's going to be a very busy week. I do not know if I will do it because I know we will have a bunch of other stuff and obligations that we're trying to do. But I'm still definitely it is in my head as it is. I know how big of a deal it is. This is the only opportunity I'm ever going to get to have all. That's why we're going to ADCC in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like, but again, it'd be $800 with me and my wife. So it'd be a big ticket. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I think, do we have any other?
I think that's all.
Oh, IBJJF news.
Oh yeah.
The biggest. This is a long news segment.
Yeah.
So IBJJF has announced new closeout rules. The TLDR of it is essentially that like you can close out, but we're not going to give you money, and you're not going to get points for it.
Yeah.
And I think it was. Is it team points or is it just your ranking points? I think it might be both.
I think it's both.
So
I think you get no points.
No, you get no points for it.
Yeah.
So this came out, and then a bunch of the athletes went, "Yeah, you don't pay us very much anyway. Like it's not if I had to choose between a friendship and getting paid,
was it
like
Murgali?
it was Murgali. Murgali
said it like same day,
and commented on the page and like made a post about it, and it kind of went viral. And then a bunch of other athletes kind of echoed the same thing. Like you really can't threaten us by taking away the money because like. The money is so little, and it's such a long shot to get that anyway that like that's not really a good threat for us. If it would be more money, then yeah, it would definitely be like if I'm gonna fight you for for $1,000, like I'll probably not fight my friend. If it's like 10 grand, then like okay, this is a different discussion now. It's like okay, maybe we'll put it on the line and like we'll put our friendship to the side to have that match. Again, if the Rotolo brothers can do it on a brown belt world final, anyone else can do it. You have two brothers that compete and fight. Like if they can do it,
know each other's game.
They're
completely.
They're
that's what I mean.
Brothers. You have two brothers that are willing to do it. Anyone else who's buddies can go do for it. Again,
I'm not a fan of closeouts.
No one is.
I think you should go.
I understand why it's there, and I understand like the thought process for why it exists, but the sport has moved past that. Again, I don't want to give too many of my personal opinions on closeouts, but they've changed the rule to disincentivize closeouts. They're going to take your ranking. They're not going to give you ranking points for it, and you're not going to get paid, which is one of like 2 or 3 paid tournaments the IBJJF does a year anyway. Again, hopefully with kind of the pushback that they got, we've been talking about this since we started the show in 2017. There should be more money. Actually, when we started the show, there wasn't any money.
Yeah.
For the first, I think until 2019, there wasn't any money, maybe 2018, for the athletes winning worlds, and we thought that was kind of a travesty at that level. So hopefully this continues to push them to make additional changes. And IBJJF posted today that they are looking to make additional changes, and the community has, I think, really rallied behind like, yeah, guys, you have to make some changes. The sport has moved on. And I think in their post for the changes they're going to make, they were talking about modernizing, kind of coming into the modern age. I think Flo had an article and a discussion about them potentially including heel hooks in the gi, of which everyone on Grappling Rewind is like, yeah, put them in the gi. Fixes the 50-50 problem real quick.
Yeah.
But it's a valid, I think it is funny 10 years ago, and even when you started the show 5 years ago, it wasn't even a joke. It was a joke. It was literally an April Fool's joke that the IBJJF was going to allow heel hooks. Now it's a reality. Now they're putting some pressure on stopping closeouts.
Well,
they're starting to make some changes in the right direction because I think the community was
I do
upset
have to
with a
say
lot of
they
stuff.
only let heel hooks in adult black belt.
Yeah.
That's it.
Is it brown or black? Is it just black? Really?
And it's only adult.
Yeah.
So
not
if you're a
masters.
masters, you're shit out of luck.
And interestingly enough, I honestly think that I've talked to some of the Masters guys, and the Masters guys are like, you know what, I'm kind of okay. I'm kind of okay with that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want your foot ripped off.
Right. But again, if it is such a valid technique, and it is such at the forefront of like a lot of things that everyone who is going to be competitive trains.
Because then you don't get lazy. There's certain things you just can't get lazy with because you're afraid your foot's about to get ripped off. So.
But it is.
I'm a fan, but
I'm a huge fan. Like I allow heel hooks because it's a thing in the sport we do. If you are gonna like get hurt, you gotta tap, and that's the rule. That's the rule for a Kimura. That's the rule for any sort of neck crank. That's the rule for any sort of arm bar. Like the same thing goes for your feet. If you're in danger, you tap, and then you don't get hurt.
Yeah,
that's the game we play. But it was really interesting that the IBJJF has made a number of statements this week, changing rules and basically going, hey guys, we're going to start changing rules because we have to modernize. And they've, that is not something that they have ever done in the past publicly. And I think that they're finally like, I'm not sure if they've got more heat from it because I think they've pissed away a lot of the goodwill of the community over the past couple of years with some of the decisions they've made and some of the things they've done. So I think this is at least a step in the right direction.
Excessive fees for everything.
Yeah, the exorbitant fees to maintain a database of grapplers like Smooth Comp does for free.
Yeah.
Or not for free, but for like $1.
Yeah.
For every time it's like $1 and like 30 cents for every credit for your event for your athlete. Like,
yeah,
very low. So to charge $4, they do a lot of stuff, and they've annoyed a lot of the community. It's a step in the right direction. They still do have some of the most prestigious tournaments in the world.
And if you're like in my position as a female, being almost 40, they actually give you divisions. And they give you divisions of people.
You
actually have people my size and my age.
Well, yeah, you and Rachel are looking at a tournament coming up, a local one, where it's like you guys are the only people in those divisions.
Yeah.
And you both are like, well, I don't want to fight each other. IBJJF, because they typically are a larger tournament, they bring out more talent, you'll get an opportunity to have a division of people that you don't train with.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There is that. Again, looking forward to World Pro this year as well.
Yeah.
Do we have any other news?
No, I think
this has been the longest news segment we have had in forever. Where do you want to start in the recap section, Miranda?
We will start at Hudson Valley.
Hudson Valley Invitational, main event.
New York.
Estevan Martinez versus Manny Vazquez.
Yep. It was an interesting match.
This shit was fire. I had a good time watching it.
I had a good time watching it. There's a couple times. I mean, Esteban doesn't mind giving his back.
No.
He's just like, take my back. I don't care. And then he just gets out of it.
It wasn't even like that is the best way to put it. He like kind of was like willing to just give a back up in order to escape and like fight out of a choke.
Yeah.
In order to just like get top position on the escape. And it was a really interesting.
What blows my mind is the fact that he can stand up with someone on his back.
Yes.
Because he's not a big man.
No.
He's rather short.
Yeah.
But he's stocky. But he just like literally the way he gets you off his back is he stands up and kind of shakes you off.
He shakes you to the side and then it's
like a big man thing to do.
It is
it's not a little man thing to do.
Watching Estevan, because again, they were similar size, similar weight class, but
no, it was 145.
Okay.
Because Esteban's already the 35 champion.
Yes.
And this was 45. So
yes.
the guy probably has 20 pounds on him. Because Estevan maybe, I don't know, man.
He didn't look 20. I'll give you 15. But yeah, but again, has the size advantage. Yeah. Vazquez was significantly like bigger in stature than Martinez. Yeah. And there was an interesting thing I noticed here. There were numerous times that Vazquez would try to kind of collect Estevan's leg in either a half guard or like a quarter guard or something. Yeah. And Estevan did a really, really good job of like passing his legs extremely quickly over the thighs and never leaving his feet inside of Vazquez's guard. He would open, like he did like a Sao Paulo pass. Yeah. And then immediately like you saw Vazquez go to like turn on his hip to like recollect his like Martinez's lower leg as he passed. And then Estevan was just out.
Yeah.
And you saw a couple of times that Vazquez seemingly was a little bit surprised with Martinez's speed in some of those transitions, especially towards the later end of the match. I think at the beginning of the match, Vazquez really like locked down Martinez.
He was trying to wrestle him too. He was trying to like be really wrestle heavy and kind of hold him down that way. Because he knew, I mean, everybody that watches Estevan competes knows that he's going to shoot. And his shot isn't the most technical shot.
But he gets so far underneath you. And like he is... Given his size,
and it's all the oomph. Like it's all of his
and he'll
oomph
lift you and
at
turn you, and so because he has such good penetration on that, he can do just a bent over shot on guys because even his bent over shot, he's at your hip line with a bent over shot, versus most guys just don't have the ability to be able to do that. Martinez he gets in on you so easily and so well, but Vazquez did a good job of like keeping him up.
Even if you stuff him and he hits the mat, he's coming back at you.
Yes. He's like he's tenacious throughout the entire match, and that's something that we saw kind of later towards the match. Like Vazquez,
the one shot where he like just spins over, like he shots it, he stuffs it, and then Estevan just like back.
He gets like out and he forces you to come over, and then he just rolls over you.
Yeah, that was wild. I was watching.
Really,
I was like,
really
holy
good
shit.
balance in transitions, and we saw this with the Musamechi match, like with the cartwheel flips he does, and like he has a lot of passing that he implements where he just throws his hips around you and he forces you to cover that distance that he's covering in the air, which guys can do at the high levels.
Yeah.
But he continues to throw it at you, and guys will get tired later in the match because Martinez just has this gas, like he's going to go, he's going to go, he's going to go. And I think the interesting thing is guys underestimate how strong Martinez is as well. Because Estevan locks onto you, and you see guys kind of like they get deeper into positions than they kind of expect because Martinez does a really good job of crawling up your body and locking you down.
I think the other thing is because he's not a large man, they just expect him not to have the power, I think, that he has.
Right, of a guy at 35 or 45.
So once he grabs you, I don't think they realize that he's going to put as much behind it.
He had me in the crew. We talked to ADCC. I did an interview. It will be out today. I'm going to say it on the podcast so it's out. Yeah. Because I haven't got it out yet.
Did he put you in a crucifix?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we were
you didn't tell me about this.
Oh yeah, because you left for the airport.
Yeah.
So I talked to him. I was like, hey, because we were on the same floor in the hotel. We were on floor 20.
Oh, okay.
And
I was with Cody Steele.
I kept running.
I had Cody Steele and Tackett on my floor.
I kept running to him at the elevator, and I was like, I'm gonna get an interview because I wanted to let him finish competing for the weekend. Yeah. Because that's typically how I like to do interviews. I like to interview guys. Like, I do not want to be a bother for you while you are competing. Yeah. As a guy that does media, I just find it like inappropriate if I can't avoid it. Like, I'll talk to a guy day one or at the end of a day one or like at the end of it or like an appropriate time. But usually I like to talk to guys after they compete because then they can tell me about their match and their preparation and like things that I'm interested in hearing about. So Estevan, I knew he was the next day, so I got him on the final day before we had to leave, and we talked. We did a great interview, and then he we started talking about his crucifix game. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, let me show you. And he showed me a bunch of his crucifix game. Yeah. And he's like, wait, don't put this out yet. And I was very excited because he played some crucifix here. And I was like, that's what he was showing me how he does. And it was very cool. He is very strong.
Is he?
He grabs you, and then but he's very tight when he grabs onto you. And he doesn't make any space. So there was things that he was doing in the crucifix where he's like, oh, turn here. And I was like, I can't. He goes, yeah, you can't go that way. And I'm like, yeah, I can't go that way.
That's
because he like locks you in a really very, very interesting piece of game. I think at some point I'll ask him, hey, can we put this out?
He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's super knowledgeable with like how he explains stuff. And it was a really good interview with like probably 20. He talked to us like 20 or 30 minutes afterwards. Oh, wow. Rachel and I just kind of talking about grappling and his matches and like his technique, and it was like super great guy. Big fan of Estevan Martinez, having like watched his game for years and years and years, and also like got a chance to interview him and watch him here. As far as the other technical pieces in the match, I'm always really surprised like how Martinez is able to get under guys' hips from bottom position and they get really tight, and then like do the Derek Lewis thing. He lifts up into you and then rolls to the side, and guys can't follow his hips, and as a result, he's got really, really effective turnovers and like and passing off of those positions in a way that we don't see a whole lot of guys at the lower weight classes. He does like some big man stuff that you see at like heavyweight. And it's really interesting because he's able to position his hips under you so well. And that's like a really big heavyweight tactic is to position your hips.
But if you think about it, he's been competing against probably heavyweights and larger people. So,
but it's just not techniques you typically see for guys at 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. Yeah. Like you start to see some of the hip positioning stuff he does at like 85, 205, 225, and like those weight classes. So it's really interesting that Martinez is one of the few guys that will do some of those like hip lifts and turnovers in those spots because, again, versus Manny Vazquez, Vazquez was trying to take his back and hold on to him, and he would lift him up and turn. And Vazquez was unable to like keep his hips on Martinez as he was doing that.
Because he would spin. He would just spin within him, if that makes sense, or within his guard.
Mm-hmm. And overall, both guys throw up some great moves. Vazquez has done a pretty deep rear naked choke at one point.
Towards the beginning.
Yeah, towards the beginning, probably the first 3 minutes of the match. Yeah. And I went, ooh, did Martinez overextend himself? Yeah. Because, again, it looks like Vazquez is in a place that he can absolutely, like, if he squeezes this hard enough, but Martinez gets his chin super low, gets his hands in, and just starts.
I would think Martinez is also one of those people you must have to put out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta kill him a little bit.
Yeah.
Before he'll quit.
Because I'm trying to think of when I've seen him tap. I saw him tap to
Absolute. I've seen him tap in Absolute.
In Absolute.
When
Wagner had the arm across his face. Yeah. Which, I mean, you're gonna break your jaw or you're gonna tap. I think you're gonna tap. But I mean, I haven't really seen him tap very often. Like, to sub him is almost impossible.
He's very, very hard guy to sub at the weight class. Again, bigger guys can like in the because he does absolute so often. Yeah. Bigger guys will like put some pressure into him, but overall, you usually have to like outpoint him or just control him so well because he will get super deep. Like in this match, Manny takes his back, gets the choke in, and Martinez like doesn't seem unconcerned, but he just kind of very calm, like turns his hips out and gets out of the choke and then begins throwing up his own offense on Vazquez. And then towards the end of the match, just he's on his back, he's on the arm, he's on a Kimura.
He gets out of like 2 buggy chokes, which I thought the first time he got out of the buggy choke was like, I never thought to keep their legs, because he what he did for the first time is he didn't let the guy bring both of his legs up.
Yeah.
He like held his foot back and held the one leg down and the other one up, and then just pressure into his face until he let go. Yeah. Basically banana splitted him until he came around.
Right, because your legs are open like that and you can't force and close the choke in order to put all the pressure you need onto the neck.
Yeah, which I'm always trying to find new ways to get out of the buggy choke because all these stupid bendy people try to do them to me all the time.
And we're only gonna see more
drives
of it.
Me crazy.
We see it in our gym now. We're seeing guys. There's a couple guys.
Know.
There's a couple
there's
guys.
One of them that does it all the time.
Yep, there's one of them.
And so I have to learn. And right now I'm just doing the asshole move of like
just pressure your face.
I'm gonna pressure your face.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put my knee to your face.
That's what I'm doing now. But I'm curious to see if in like 6 months he figures out like, okay, I know what you're gonna do. And like, because he's getting better.
Yeah.
And the guy we're talking about at the gym, like, he's getting better. And I'm like, eventually this is going to be
he got me at the very beginning, very, very beginning. And then since then, it's been like, and I almost don't pass, like, because he lets you pass him to be able to do it. And so now I like apprehensively pass. But now I know after watching Estevan Martinez, I'm going to block his bottom leg with my foot as I pass. And then not fully pass, like partial pass.
Again, really interesting technical match. But Esteban, definitely towards the end of it.
Yeah, he had
almost all the control. Giving up the control in the transitions and in the kind of scrambles to Manny later in the match. And then positionally did really, really good work. Definitely Manny was in it and still and like working and forcing Esteban to pass and like to like force the turtle and to throw the hooks in for the back. But Martinez was in the driver's seat probably minute 6 onward towards the end of the match, and
he was trying to towards the end. He was trying to finish it.
Oh yeah,
he was like throwing everything out there.
And that's one of the reasons that we love covering Estevan Martinez because
when he turns it on, he just turns it on.
He'll just throw it, guys, and you just keep throwing.
Oh, he did like a flying triangle. That was wild.
he'll just throw at you, and he'll force you to keep defending. And that's a game that I really like because this was one of the best matches of the weekend because you had 2 guys, Manny Vazquez and Estevan Martinez, that were willing to put it on the line and continue to throw subs for a 10-minute match. It is matches like these that I'm hesitant to go all 10-minute matches are bad. It's like, well, you got to have the right collection of guys that are both willing to take chances, both willing to fight out of subs, and it's like, and at the higher levels, most guys just aren't willing to do that, to kind of put your sub-defense on the line. Yeah. And that's why, again, I appreciate it. takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to have a really good match like this. And you got to give credit where credit's due. Both guys put on the line. Estevan Martinez takes this in a pretty clean decision, but absolutely
He's now
a match.
The 45 and 35 champion.
Which is just wild.
Yep.
So absolutely go back and watch this match. Estevan is the guy.
The whole card was actually good. It was a bunch of local people.
It was fun.
But a couple people from Balance headquarters. A couple people from like around. It was a good card all around.
Yeah, overall, I'm super. I like Hudson Valley. I like what they're doing. I think this is the 2nd event we've covered from them. Might even
it's either 2nd or 3rd. I want to say it's the 3rd.
I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah, but anyway.
But yeah, it's fun. Moving on to, want to move Fight to Win or to Grapple and Temple?
We'll do Grapple in the Temple.
Grapple and Temple. Let's talk about the main event, Kahil Fajada versus Robert Maloff.
Yep.
This was like a much slower match. We had Khalil kind of pull the knee shield for the majority of the match, and it was really Robert pushing forward in the knee shield for the entirety of the match. And that was, you had a couple of footlock attempts from both guys. Robert would kind of fall back. But overall, it was a lot of Robert looking to get past Khalil's knee shield. Khalil kind of looking to set up an entry into the legs, but Robert doing a really good job being diligent on his knees, keeping his knees kind of away, keeping his hands in the way of the inversion on the legs, and forcing Khalil to just maintain that Z shield, like a really heavy foot-on-foot knee shield, and open it up to kind of try to work, and then Robert starts to move past. And it was a game of inches for the entirety of the match. Towards the end, there's some footlock attempts on either side, but Robert takes a decision really just because he had consistent passing efforts for the entirety of the match, even if they weren't like super strong or super aggressive. He just wasn't willing to overextend himself because Khalil is such a good leg blocker and can do so much with
And Grapple in the Temple goes by almost like MMA style rules. Because he was passing more.
I think so. It would have been a grappling decision too. I think it was really just one of those games where if you were Khalil on the bottom, you have to get something going, and like if your game plan is to play off of Robert's kind of getting overzealous with the passing attempts and being not as diligent with the hand positioning and the positioning of the knees and like the squaring of the torso and the chest and like getting turned. Both guys did a really good job kind of playing into the game, but Robert was just very, very diligent in not overextending over the guard and allowing for the inversion. We've seen kind of Taza get caught up with this sometimes as well, where it's like if you really force Taza to play like a mid-range outside game from the bottom, like you eliminate a lot of his like entries into the knee bars and into the heel hooks on the outside, and that's really, really similar to what Robert did here for the match, is just not let the inversions and the attempts happen and, really prevent the knee shield from coming up to sweep and, get a ton of offense off from the bottom. And so Robert takes a decision for Grapple in the Temple. There was a bunch of fun matches on that card as well, but we're not going to have a chance to cover them all. But I think Hudson Valley was about 4 or 5 hours.
But you knew Grapple and Temple was 6.
It was 6 hours. Fight to Win was about 6 hours as well.
There was a
Stephen Smallridge was also on that. Friend of the show. Stephen Smallridge had a match on that as well. So it was cool to see him and actually see him on a card that we were covering.
I like the fact that it's in a temple like that.
The venue was really cool.
Yeah. I like cool temple or cool environments to have.
And they talked about on the commentary like how cool the venue was. You're like, hey, you're watching on Flow, that's cool. But, like, come here and see it. Like, we appreciate you watching on Flow, but, like, come here and see the event. The cameras don't do the venue justice. And I was like, I want to go see Grapple in the Temple now. Like, where is that?
It's like Minnesota, isn't it? Michigan? I
didn't expect a follow-up question, Miranda. It was more of a hypothetical, like, where is that? I need to go find out and watch.
I think it's Michigan because it's where the guy who got his leg broken at ADCC.
It's not Garmos.
It's not.
So I got that wrong.
Garmos.
It's not Garmos.
Okay.
I got that wrong.
But
Steven actually texted me and was like, hey, man, it's actually not that.
I think it's like Michigan. It's like Michigan or it's that direction. I want to say.
I think it is.
Because I remember looking it up because it's a not Kyotera. It's an Alliance Marcelo Garcia affiliate that ran it. Because I remember looking out, it might be like Chicago. Watch, it's like Illinois. It's like that direction. It's the Midwest. I don't know.
I'm looking through all of the texts that I got sent. It is in a location that I want to go, and I'm looking forward to the next event.
Okay,
should be very fun.
We'll go next, and you can Google while I'm looking right now.
Moving on to Fight to Win 199. I'm not sure where 200 is going to be. Do we know yet?
What?
Do we know where Fight to Win 200 is going to be? Because they're in Cali right now.
I don't believe so.
Are they going back to Hawaii? Is Hawaii open right now?
I don't know Hawaii's open. I don't know. I mean, BJ Penn says it's open for everything. He's going to bring a football team.
Is he really?
He's running for governor of Hawaii.
BJ Penn?
Did you know this?
I thought he was getting knocked down the parking lot.
He is, but he's also running for governor. He says he's going to bring them a football team, and he's going to bring all these events and stuff.
Is that a thing he's really doing?
Yes, he is really doing it. But
BJ Penn, former Mondials world champion, 2003.
Yes. He's doing some wild shit.
Oh, that's wild. I can't find where Fight to Win 200 is going to be, but they still have the Sacramento card up information. So let's talk about that. Fight to Win 199. Do you want to talk about Elizabeth Mitrovic versus Elizabeth Bravo first? Or
Detroit, Michigan. That is where the Masonic Temple is.
Okay, so it is Detroit.
It's at 313, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who's a Marcelo Garcia affiliate in Detroit.
Sweet. So we don't know where 200 is, but we know where Grapple Temple is.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Elizabeth Mitrovic versus Elizabeth Bravo or Sloane Climber versus Manny Hosha?
We'll go with Mitrovic.
Mitrovic.
Yeah, Elizabeth
main
versus
event.
Elizabeth. They're both Elizabeth.
Oh, look at that.
One is a Z and one is an S.
Yeah. So Elizabeth Mitrovic, former, I think, fight to win brown belt title holder. I forget what weight this matchup is at. This is an interesting match because this is kind of why I really like the fight to win rule set, because it's not over till you're done.
Yeah.
And so you'll have a lot of like really good hard submission attempts late in the match. Mitrovic is on the guard for the majority of, I think, 6 or 7 minutes of the match, throwing up cross collars and Ezekiel's, doing a really good job of getting her hips down.
And she sweeps her.
Mm-hmm. She's doing a really good job in the guard of like getting the arm across and like going kind of working for the arm. She sweeps Bravo, and Bravo's late into the match at this point.
Yeah.
And knows she's down. This is a gi match. Mitrovic's done a really good job controlling her.
We're talking down last 30 seconds down.
Oh, yeah. No, she's in the guard.
Because
she sweeps her with like a minute and a half, 2 minutes left to go. Like this, where there's some time to work on top, but Mitrovic is playing.
It's a 120 left.
Pretty dominantly.
Yeah. And Mitrovic is trying to slam her and like all kinds of stuff.
Bravo pulls her into the guard, gets down low, and then shoots with, 30 seconds left?
Yeah.
An armbar. And it's deep. And she has both arms. So it's that armbar where you get your arm both trapped in it, where you have your top side and your low side arm trapped. So you basically can't pull out your top side arm to frame and push on the knees.
And the other thing that sucks about that armbar is you kind of flop over on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've jacked up my shoulders just because you fall and there's nothing to brace your shoulder.
There's nothing because you're
your shoulder
extended.
is just like slammed, and because you're already extended, it's like your rotator just kind of like goes in a weird direction.
Yes, Miranda, we've had the same injury from this.
Well, and I've been swept like this when my arms are stuck, and then somebody sweeps you, and if they're an idiot and they sweep you right on your, it's the most painful shit. Like it's one of those things that like I will get angry, and when I get out of that, I'm gonna mess you up. I'm coming full speed
with a little bit less than 30 seconds. Bravo throws up a really like nice armbar on the gi, pulls everything across, turns Mitrovic over, and gets and I'm not sure if like there was a pop or there was a tap, or I was confused about that on the broadcast exactly.
The broadcast says broke.
That's what I heard.
I was
heard
like,
break.
I don't know if it was a break,
because she was pretty calm for a break. And again, Liz is a gangster. But she was pretty calm if it was broken. But I was holding it, and it was out of the gi at the end of the match.
It could have been out of joint too.
Like, I don't know. I don't really. I should have actually texted Elizabeth about this, because she would have texted us back and let us know, because she has before on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we had questions about one of her brown belt title fights. There was a weird leg position into the saddle in the gi. And basically, there was some weirdness, and Seth was like, there was like a DQ, and Seth gets on the mic and goes, "No, we're not going to DQ in a title fight. Reset them, tell them what they can do, and keep going." And I was like, "Thank you, Seth. That's exactly how you should have handled that." And they keep going. But I basically texted Elizabeth a couple years ago about that particular match, and she let us know exactly what happened, and actually talked to me on the phone to give me more context about what had happened there, because it was not clear on the broadcast. So should have done that for this one. Bravo hits a really nice armbar with like 7 seconds left. Gets either the break or the tap over Mitrovic, and that was the main event of Fight to Win 199.
But it was wild because it was like last second.
Literally 7 seconds left on the clock to get it after.
It was one of those Hail Mary sub attempts.
But gets it done, and it's like really impressive. It's why I like the Fight to Win rule set, because you are so incentivized to like continue to work, because there are no points.
Yeah.
Like, Elizabeth was definitely up in this match, but there are no points for her to like. You can never be too comfortable, and so as a result, people will continue to go. So great match. Next match we had Sloane Climber versus Manny Hosha. Really, this was kind of similar to the Khalil versus Robert match, and there's a lot of Z shield from the bottom from Hosha, and then it's Sloane.
Then they switch positions, and Sloane takes the bottom.
Yeah,
it's like they switch halfway through.
But really, like the biggest thing in the match, I think, was that Sloane sort of stands up and then throws like a jumping guillotine over the guard, but he does it in a way that I like. He does it like he is starting to set up a pass, like a long side pass where he's going to flop his hips over, which is how I like to set this up. Is you get up, you start to address the neck, and then you sort of like turn and jump over, and then you look to bring the other hand in as you've fallen over on it, because it on a black belt level, most people aren't going to let you set up a guillotine over their guard. Like they're just, it's not a thing that's going to happen. Most people aren't going to sit straight up like that, but Sloane pulls him over and basically uses his own weight to slot the head into place, and then turns it, he lands on his back as he's jumping over the guillotine, and then you use the leverage of their neck to drive your hips back up and over into the mount. Hosha does a great job here of like preventing the mount because he gets his hips to the side, gets that top side knee in. They scramble for a little bit. Eventually Sloane elects to take the bottom here after that, but that was really the strongest attempt there, and it really required some very thoughtful defense from Manny here. In like, a lot of people, because it's such a quick move and Sloane's such a big, strong guy, they will kind of get shell-shocked by that sub-attempt.
Oh, yeah,
and you Sloane can take mount there and then like crank on the guillotine with the one arm or two arm.
If you have a guillotine mount, you're pretty much
done. You're donezo.
You're done. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It's a great move.
It's wonderful.
It is my favorite sub,
especially if I can roll up into it. If I can go from north south,
that's sort of how Sloane likes to go, like head to head, and then rolls up on it. Yeah, which is again something you don't see at heavyweight, like guys like Sloane being able to do. But Sloane impressed me. He's impressed me a ton over the years when he was in Brown, going to Legion, and then even at, this last trials, he had some really impressive performances that were big, strong, athletic movements from a quick guy, even at the weight class. So that was really the biggest moment in the top. They both kind of go back and forth for feet. Interestingly enough, we saw a lot more attempts here for straight ankles for both guys. And I wasn't sure if that was a foot positioning thing or a preference thing. Is they were both sort of looking to get the straight ankle and not looking to roll for the heel hook.
I'm wondering if that was just a, you know how you're supposed to go up the hierarchy?
Yeah.
In theory, you're supposed to start straight ankle to,
right.
It seemed more like a calculated thing.
Yeah.
As almost like, because sometimes when you go into heel hooks, you're putting yourself in a shit position.
Yeah, you can get countered, and there's a lot of really good counters with the heel hook because your hands on the outside and you're turning, and so if they start to counter, they can get roll and turn you.
Yeah, your body positioning gives up your back sometimes because you're either going to get that or you're not.
Saw Gordon Ryan, kind of famously versus Penna, like that's off of a leg lock entry.
So that's... My assumption is probably something like that.
It is interesting, though, that we're seeing, I think, in the last, 4 months, we're seeing more and more people, like Mikey especially, we're seeing them grab in no-gi the straight ankle first and start to look to finish the straight ankle and then electing to go after the heel hook. Again, we're still seeing guys go for the heel hook in the majority, but we are seeing people attack the straight ankle lock more than I have ever remembered in no-gi. Like it was a joke before. Now it's a real sub again. If you think about it,
in a situation like fight to win, let's say you grab a straight ankle. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? You don't get it. Then you can transition to a heel hook. That's now you have two subs, two sub attempts instead of one. And so if you want to like maximize your sub attempts, you could go from straight ankle to
That's
heel
a really
hook.
good point, actually.
You know what I mean? And you could...
and you don't lose the control. Like, you have the ankle lock the whole time. You can keep the control while, like, they stand up, they don't stand up, you turn position. Like, Fight to Win doesn't really care about that.
Yeah. Where
so
if you go like
just
balls
go for
to
the
the
first
wall
thing.
on a heel hook, like, you're going to give your back.
Yeah, or they're going to escape, or they're going to pummel their feet out. Either you get it, or for most people, the position is going to pretty significantly change.
You can spam 2 or 3 sub attempts in a row if you start at a straight ankle.
Right, you can kind of follow the positional chain up there.
Move, switch to the other.
Yeah.
You know.
I've never really thought about that.
If you wanted to spam somebody with
the control points are a lot better on the straight ankle there, and so in the rule set it might be beneficial to start with that. That is an interesting new wrinkle of kind of my thought process with Fight to Win.
My weird brain thinking of ways to
good.
maximize situations.
There must be some merit to it because we're seeing more and more people in no-gi attacking the straight ankle lock than we ever have before.
And then a match, there was Joy Pendle versus Paige Yvette. Paige Yvette was our silver medalist in ADCC.
We talked about that on the show. Like, so she gets introduced as the runner-up for ADCC trials.
As the runner-up for ADCC
and
trials.
Would you rather be introduced as a runner-up or a silver medalist? We both went
silver medalist.
Silver medalist.
Yeah, runner-up does. does not do you any
What that
justice.
means you got beat by the champion. Silver medalist means like I beat bronze.
I mean, they're both.
It's an astonishing accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's an amazing accomplishment.
But I like the one transition only because it's a transition that we've been working at in the gym for a bit, and it's passing. Paige basically at kind of in the middle of the match. She passes to north-south, but she does it while standing. And when she goes to north-south, she goes for this body lock around the waist or a little below the waist, which is what we actually did on Saturday. Were you there Saturday? I don't think so.
I was sleeping.
Okay.
Nope.
So she grabs like a body lock from north-south, kind of below the hips, and it kind of lets you control the whole person, and then you can kind of make them.
You can lean your shoulders into them and really like hold them in north-south, and especially for women, because they bridge. And Joy does this a little bit. She tries to sort of bridge almost onto the back. But
and worst thing's gonna happen is like what she does, which is like they try to like scissor choke you with their legs. But I mean, besides that, you have control of most of their body, and then she goes that and sees what comes up from there, which in her situation is an armbar.
Yeah, Paige does a really nice armbar from that position because you're still high enough on them that their arms are below you and they kind of are trapped in your hip line, and so the person on the bottom is forced to sort of begin to reach up, or like they can't guard their arms from you. So Paige goes for a really nice armbar, and she fights for it for a while on top.
Yeah. But yeah, this is it's something that PJ Barge taught me and Rob when we went to the seminar. It's kind of like a transition to north-south, and then drop to that body lock, and then go from there and kind of wait and see what happens. Yeah. And it works really well for him. For me, I can get the pass north-south. I'm still kind of working with the body. Body locks are weird for me. I don't know. They don't always.
Yeah, I'm actually having watched Nikki Rod versus Yuri Samoes use it so well. I was like, okay, I gotta learn how to body lock pass a little better now.
See, my issue with it is I think I'm a little small to do it. I think size-wise, I'm a little small. Mostly because I'm going against people bigger than me. That it gives them almost too much control of my upper body.
That makes sense. I can see that.
So I don't have as much success with it, but it's definitely something that I've been watching and paying attention to.
I like the finish here because you saw of that reach. So Joy is defending the arms, and she's not like doesn't have like a gable. It doesn't have like a elbow to elbow grip on the arm bar. She has like hands, and then you see Yvette take her low side hand that is the leg side, and she reaches over and she basically pulls off the forearm and fully clears Joy's arm out of the hands and like holds the hand there while she takes her topside hand and like extends the armbar and puts hand over hand on it. It's a really the camera angle is perfect for it. It's a really interesting way to clear that arm that we don't see a whole lot, where it's like you use your entire hand to pull everything out of position before you go for the arm. It's just not something we see very often. Again, I'm really happy to see Yvette immediately getting some like top bookings and like co-main events on Fight to Win. Like, I love that Seth brings in people from like recently medaled people at big events and like will immediately throw them back into the Fight to Win scene and like, hey,
which is great.
You had a great match. People know who you are. Let's put you back on these cards.
Sloane was on ADCC.
Yeah. Did really well. I think he made day 2 in trials, and he made quarters, I think, right?
Yeah, because I think he
made semis or quarters.
He got taken out by Crisp with the tattoos.
Yes. Yeah. That was a very, very fun match.
Yeah.
I've had 2 people go, hey, Maine, can you put together a list of Fires trials matches? And I'm like, I will. And I had somebody text me, one of my students text me today like, hey, have you done that list yet? And I'm like, I haven't yet. Well, I need to do it.
There's one match to watch.
So that was another really great match on Fight to Win 199. Really looking forward to what Fight to Win does for Fight to Win 200. That does it for the recaps this week. Do you have anything else you want to recap?
I think that's everything that happened.
So let's move on. Let's move on to the one preview that is. First of all, are you sure Mikey Musumeci versus Iminari is happening this week?
Yes, it's on Friday.
Okay, are you sure?
Double checked it.
It's
4/22, which is Friday.
Okay.
It's on 1FC. I checked the whole card to make sure no one else was grappling on the card. No one else on the card is grappling. It's just him.
You're right. Okay. Friday, it is a pay-per-view?
It shouldn't be. He should be on the earlier card.
Okay, so on the YouTube card. So this should be on YouTube, which is awesome. Again, when's the last time you got to watch Mikey grapple on YouTube? Mikey Musumeci versus Masakazu Iminari. It's a catchweight submission grappling match.
Oh, it's catchweight?
Yeah, it's catch
I
weight.
wonder what Iminari's going to walk in at. I guess he's not that big. He's like 150, 160.
No, not that big.
You don't think he's that big?
45. I thought Iminari was a featherweight.
Really?
He might be a lightweight, but like again, he's Japanese, so they tend to not cut as much as a lot of like the American, European counterparts. We know what Iminari is going to do.
Yeah. He's going to roll.
What is Musamechi? Iminari is going to do the roll named after him. He's going to do the Iminari roll. I'm curious to see if Mikey pulls on him, or if he lets him Iminari him and tries to counter off the Iminari, or like...
I don't see... I don't know.
Mikey's going to win this by heel hook.
Yeah.
Is what I go, but I'm very curious how Iminari is going to deal with Musamechi and how quickly or how like diligently they are going to play the feet. I love watching Iminari. Musamechi is like the best guy in the world. Again, if Iminari decides to leverage like his size advantage, like Oliveira did, this could be rough for Musamechi. But I just think that Iminari is going to go, oh, you're a good leg locker. I'm a good leg locker. Let's see how this goes. And I think that's sort of how both guys will elect to play.
Yeah.
Again, this is sort of where is Mikey at? Where is Masakazu at? As far as what game plan they're going to come in with.
The other thing is Masakazu is beat up.
Yeah, he's very beat up. I've been watching Iminari highlights since I started training.
Yeah, he walks in with quite the walk. He has quite the walk when he walks in.
He's got the meow walk a little bit.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think that Musamechi wins this by heel hook, by sub, or by position? Do you think Iminari can take it, potentially by like a rear naked choke or something?
So you can't win by position. This is one of these, it goes to a draw if they don't go anywhere.
Right.
So, I mean, I kind of see it being a draw.
You see it going to draw?
I think Iminari's been around long enough. Unless Musamechi can pull another weird sub out of his ass where he's like, this is the Mikey lock.
Right.
You know, where like he surprises Iminari.
I just don't think you're going to surprise Iminari, though.
I don't think you're going to surprise Iminari, but I don't know. He might like shit break. Like he might not care. He might not care. His knees are already jacked up. He doesn't care if they get torn again.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Mikey here.
I mean, I don't really want to go against Mikey, but at the same time, I don't.
In the rule set, it's very easy. Like, we saw Galval go to a draw too.
Yeah, Galval went to a draw, and Daniel Kelly went to a draw.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna go Mikey here. It is. I think a draw is very plausible.
Yeah.
But I just think that, especially if Mikey's living in Singapore now,
I think Mikey has the speed advantage too. Like he's gonna definitely like outspeed him. Mm-hmm. He's gonna move a lot faster, and
Masakazu, Iminari can't punch.
Yeah,
so
true.
he sets up stuff off that too. So yeah, I think this is honestly fairly close.
I'll go with Mikey, but it wouldn't surprise me with a draw.
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna go. I kind of go in the same way. Honestly, it should be a fun match. I'm excited it's on YouTube. Yeah. Excited to watch it live, but I think that does it for the week.
Yeah.
Nothing else going on. I'm doing commentary at Copa Elite with Zach.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And that will be fun, doing some pre-stuff for that coming up. But other than that, just kind of like adjusting into the new belt. And like
fun times.
It's been fun.
Mr. Brown Belt.
It's been fun. They're trying to murder me, but like not much has changed.
Yeah, but that's how it is.
I get to compete at Brown Belt now, which is fun.
We did me and Austin from Grappling Rewind did the Damian Maya seminar.
How was that?
It was fun. It was good. He went over 3 hours of back attacks.
I can imagine.
And it was basically the same. It was basically.
Was it only gi?
So it was in the gi, but we didn't use the gi.
So it was MMA gi.
So it was no gi in a gi. Like there were no gi.
I like that.
There were no gi grips, which like
that's hilarious.
Which I was completely fine with because like I don't like gi to begin with. So like the fact that you just gave me a complete no gi game.
You gave me what I wanted anyway. Where it's like I'll put the gi on for the picture.
Yeah.
But we get to do no gi the whole time.
Yeah.
But with the gi on.
Yeah. We did no gi in a gi. And I got to watch him beat up Austin for a minute.
Oh, that's cool.
He used Austin as his uke for a minute.
Oh, really?
And it was pretty funny to watch.
That's awesome. Austin did not tell me that part of the story.
Yeah, he did.
When I talked to him yesterday.
He definitely used him. And he is very good explaining like what he does and why he does it.
Any big takeaways from the seminar? Any particular techniques that surprised you, or like?
So he taught. So first, he also has the super Brazil accent.
Okay. Is it hard to understand a little bit?
A little bit, but like if you know how like
how Portuguese
like
sounds.
chin and chin, like a chin or chin, you know, like that kind of stuff. But no, he was talking about Hobart Drysdale. He called him Hobart Drysdale.
That's hilarious. And
Hobart had this way to get out of someone on your back by going through the legs, which I had never like thought about or paid attention to before. And
I do that.
You go through people's legs?
Because I have no respect for my my well-being or safety.
Well, allegedly, you're just like Hobart Drysdale because that's how he gets out of back.
No, so not
like,
every time.
Well, whenever he actually showed like the normal drill that you do to like keep someone's back.
Yeah.
He showed how to block somebody going between your legs to come out by like lifting one of your knees up. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize you could get out that way. And
it's always cool when you take stuff away like that from
there's
seminars.
Like little, there's like little stuff.
Super high level guy. You're like, oh, I never thought about it. Like when I did the Shane Jamil Hill Taylor Jamil Hill Taylor seminar right after he won the Worlds, he showed me like a way to lock up a triangle, and I was like, it was like you ratchet your leg into place, and I was like, huh, I've never seen anyone else show it like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll use it, but like that's a really neat thing to see, and like, oh, it feels different. It's like a whole different way to do something that I've done a lot. And it's always cool to have those super high-level guys come in and show you something different.
He was talking about doing like a 3-day immersive seminar where like you would watch videos and then he would show you how to do it. And it was like 3 days long.
See, that'd be something I'd be into.
I might actually be able to, I might be cool with that.
That would be cool because it's like, hey, we're going to do a lot of tape study. I'm like, I love tape study.
Yeah.
I do this show. Yeah. And you're going to walk me through and like show me, maybe like I might pick up pieces on like how to learn from tape from you, and like that might be worth it to me, and then like have you break down like, okay, do this and watch why you're doing it here.
He's definitely, I mean, so the seminar was like 7 to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Which is a late period of time, especially when I've worked a full work day, and he kept my attention the whole time.
That's awesome.
So that's
it was a Thursday, right?
So so I more power to him. He actually did something I didn't think was possible.
And in the gi.
And in the gi, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
So it was good times.
So sweet. That's awesome. I got nothing else going on this week. That's it for you?
No, I don't either. This week's pretty dead week.
Just training, hanging out, having a good time. I feel like we're missing something major, but because we had like 20 minutes of news.
Are we missing something?
It's gonna be like, oh, we forgot ACBJJ 10, the biggest card ever.
No,
Josh and I forgot to preview one day.
I updated our tournament sheet and I did not find anything, and we're not going to talk about BJJ stars until later.
Yeah, I'm amped for that. That's 2 weeks from now.
That looks
BJJ
wild.
Stars. That is some wild shit. I can't wait for it.
Okay.
So that's all we got. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
We are the Grappling Round to see on the mat. Whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.